Mike. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the International Women of Blockchain. Happy Saturday. It's early morning Saturday here, and I'm very excited to present to you guys these two next speakers. But first, let's do a recap. This week, we started our Mind Your Money Monday, and we learned about cryptocurrencies. We had a thorough discussion this week. This was only week two. On Tuesday, we had NF Tuesdays, and which was a very special event because that was the International Women Day. And for a lot of women who got to showcase their work during that day, it was fantastic. We got to dive into who they are as artists and get to know them a lot more. And their work are all fantastic as well. On Wednesday, we have Worldwide Wednesdays. And Worldwide Wednesdays, we got to get into some interesting topics that's about Web3 and things that are impacting us as a community. On Thursday is Table Talk Thursday. We dive in and talk to some of the greatest ladies in the space who are building and working. And we even got to hear a music from a music NFT that was released that day, which is fantastic. Man, I hope you guys enjoyed that. On Friday, of course, Friday is the most popular day. Everybody wanted to enjoy the metaverse, and we got to do just that. We got an introduction into these Oculus headgears, and we had a thorough discussion about, as a woman, what it means for us to participate in this space. We also discussed the tools that are necessary for our hair to make sure our hairs are intact when we're putting on these headgears and that there's no snagging. I love that discussion because it means that we're thinking ahead and we're thinking about other women in the space. Now it is Super Sponsor Saturday. And for Super Sponsor Saturday, I'm very excited. We're going to have a great discussion about marketing and PR. As we all know, we're heading towards Web3, and there's a different type of way of marketing in this space. You don't just market the regular way, and you don't just create and expect people to come and buy or participate in your project. There's a special way to target those communities that you're trying to form. And without further ado, I want to bring up Evelina. Evelina, come on up and join me.
Hi guys, my name is Vivilino Lavrova. I'm a marketing and PR consultant. I have been involved in the space since 2016. I started my experience at Waves. It's a big blockchain ecosystem focused on operations early days, and then PR and events. And later I launched my own marketing PR agency and started to help early in growth stage DeFi NFT startups. I also used to write for Goldstein Media as a writer and covered any topics around crypto, DeFi, NFTs. And recently I joined Avis Layer. It's a seed blockchain accelerator based in New York City as a mentor. So I'm very excited to be here, and I'm going to share my experience and in PR and in Web3. So let's get started. The first of all, I would love to start with basic things. Quite often entrepreneurs have been asking me about media and journalists and who is in who in the media. What does mean is like staff writer or contributor or freelance writer. And so you need to distinguish who you pitch your story. So first of all, a journalist could be like a staff writer in media, so they work like full-time job. And they could be contributor. So for example, I'm contributor on Hacker Noon. So it's like, side work or, just like kind of, freelance, I would say, yeah. And also the freelance work, like freelance writers, so we can typically work with few media outlets, and depends on the topic they cover it for one media or another media. And also you need to distinguish two types of reporters, news and features. So journalists who focus it on news, they cover typically press releases or any not rumors, but any leaks, insights, and they covered only news. So one by one. And journalists or reporters who covered features, it's typically like investigator journalists. They can work on feature like a few days or maybe a few weeks, depends on the topic. So then you need to realize who you're going to pitch, because if you have a news, you need to find a news reporter. And investigate like features reporter typically don't cover the news. And editor typically is head of the journalist team or reporter team. So typically a reporter brings the story to editor and discuss with him or her about the topic. So that's kind of structure. And the priorities of journalists, how they prefer communicate. So let's say you are early stage startup, it's few people. So journalists prefer to talk with founder or co-founder directly. But while the team became bigger, so then it could be team member, like marketing person or PR person, and only PR agency, like third party company, like the last priority. So what key documents, what you need to prepare before you're going to come to journalist and pitch your story? First of all, it's company description. It could be one phrase, very short, briefly, and also you need to kind of one paragraph, very briefly summary about your company. And next thing is, I really love it. It's a company numbers. It's very, it's showed your company very briefly. So journalists who never heard about your company can understand very briefly, everything about your company. So it could be investments, it could be team members, like how big is the team, it could be users, market cap, transactions, everything depends on your product. Then founder bio, who will be the main speaker? Typically it's founder or CEO. So you need to prepare like briefly bio, like typically one paragraph. And business headshot. So make sure you have a real great business headshot, because it's like, the picture, and it sells, the person to the media, and what you can use it on, at events and on media outlets. So the next slide, I think it will be example. Yeah. So here's the company numbers. Actually, it's old numbers, but it's pretty accurate that time. I think back to 2017, about the company what I used to work before. So yeah, you kind of put the highlights about the company, and if you briefly check, you understand, how big is the company, and to see the achievements for the current stage. And here's example of business headshot and my bio there. So pretty briefly, and to show key highlights in your biography. The next important thing is the company messaging, and how you're going to present your product to the media, what you're going to say, how you're going to, so this is a key structure. So you need to show like what's the problem are you going to solve, your solution, company background or founder's background here, and especially you need to highlight what they have experience in the space. Let's say they kind of few years or they kind of many years in the space. The target audience, trends, competitors, and key differentiation from other products, and key features, and why your product is unique. It could be pretty briefly, or it could be if you hire the agency, for example, they typically create it kind of with more details. But again, it could be very simple document, but if something changes, you can update it and use it, so everybody will be on the same page, especially when team started to rise. So the company's blog became like typically, in crypto space, companies use the medium Metaverse became like main platform, and YouTube became like platform for videos, for interviews. The key topic what you can highlight about the company, some business news. If you raise the funds, if you have any use cases, if you partners with other companies, you can post about it. And tech updates. So new releases, new features, or any new products you're going, if you build ecosystem, let's say. New employees, also very important, especially if you hire rock stars, you famous people in the industry. And also very typical, it's like monthly summary. So highlight the main things, like some kind of about partners, users, any use cases, maybe about community, maybe contests, etc. So new interviews, for example. So the next thing I would love to stop in the podcasts. So how early stage company to be featured or to get first interviews. Let's say nobody hear about you, it's new name, and sometimes it's hard to reach top media outlets and journalists in the beginner, because especially like tier 1 media outlets, it's very popular. So you can start with podcasts. Podcasts is really, really extremely popular in crypto space. And also, I would say not so long time ago, it's a kind of list of podcasts. I split it into 2 columns, what focused on NFTs, for example. If you have an NFT product, here's a bunch of podcasts about NFTs. And podcast about crypto, DeFi, anything about it. It's also a very big list. So feel free to find them. Typically, pretty active on Twitter, or they have own website. So pitch your founder, pitch your story, why your product unique, and it will be first step to get the coverage. What is very important for startup, it's a news monitoring. Typically, it can done by, let's say, marketing person. What you can use, it's a Google Alerts. It's free, so you can put the name of your company, and sometimes people spell it in different way. If you have 2 words, for example, so try to use a few combination of that. And founder name. And let's say if you're originally from another country, use your local language and English language. So this is how you can get notification on your email about any mention about the company or the founder in internet. Let's say somebody posted on Twitter about it, and you will notify about it, so you can answer on that. So it's kind of keep you in track everything what's going on if somebody posted about the company. So I would say what else you can track and what is good to monitor. It's industry news. Typically, it's a media outlet what covers such topics. Depends on your product, and if you focus it on crypto, like crypto media outlets. Competitors, it's also very important, because you can understand what's going on in the market, in your industry, and activities of other players. And this is how actually you start to create a journalist list who covered your topic and your product, for example. So you can get a mention, and you can define the journalists who have been written about it, and you can create a spreadsheet and add this journalist in the spreadsheet. This is how you can start to build your own media list. And when you have an announcement, let's say press release, so then you can back to this list and start to pitch this journalist. Okay, so the next thing, how you can get a coverage in media, it's a commentaries and column opinions. So news hijacking is most popular thing. So probably you heard about the current situation about Russia and Ukraine, and currently it's a very hot topic, and especially about crypto. especially the US, yeah, and such type of stuff when it's kind of big announcement and journalists start looking for experts in the space and they try to get commentaries from different sides, from different opinion, let's say, and so it's a good chance to be featured on a media outlet. And column opinions, when you can come to the media outlet, typically big media outlets, they have like specific editor who focuses on columns, an opinion, and then you can suggest, okay, I'm an expert in a space, let's say specific product, let's say in Web3, and I would love to share my opinion about, so what they typically interested in, it's trends, obviously, it's pitfalls and problems, and analysis numbers, and then you can become like, writers, so you can create a kind of article and then they post it, so you kind of share your opinion. Typically, media are pretty open for that, and they're interested to get such information. So here I mentioned the top media outlets. So back to the 2017, 2016 when I started, it was just few media outlets who covered crypto and blockchain topics, mostly like they're still in the space, this media. But currently, even tier 1 media outlets like Wall Street Journal or New York Times or Bloomberg, they started to cover such topics. So they can't ignore it anymore. It's too big. So typically, all of them, if they focus it on business or finance or startups or tech, they also cover topics around crypto and Web3. And again, if you focus it also on the Asian market, make sure that you know the local media outlets. And here I mentioned the top, the top media outlets. And next slide, I think in Japan. And also very important to know about the Asia news localization. So you you need to translate, first of all, your press release or your announcement in local language. In Japan, in Korea, I know crypto people typically, not typically, but some of them, they speak and understand English, but media, they cover a topic on local language. So you need to localize content. And also, if you're going to post any announcements, please know, so in Asia, they have local resources like Note. It's like Medium analogy equivalent in Japan, and Naver, it's like Korean Google and a bunch of services, and also they have a blog platform. So make sure you use local resources to attract maximum people. Crisis communications, it's a very important thing, and I think I would love to, what's happened, what typically happened. It's something bad about company and became public, so like explode, like hack or mass layoffs. And if you heard recently, it's happened with OpenSea, when it was something like hack or something like that. So people lost NFTs. And so if something happened bad, what you need to do? First of all, a fast reaction. So you need to post the commentaries from the company. Even at Saturday, like it happened with OpenSea, you need to post everything because users waited for. You need to send a newsletter, for example. Try to turn. It's very hard, but anyway, try to turn negative to the positive things. So suggest something to users. Try, okay, accept what that's happened. It's bad, but we're going to solve it. And the worst scenario, there is no reaction. I know the cases when it's happened not only in crypto space, in other spaces, when company just, kept silent and users didn't know what to do. And the negative reaction just, rise it and rise it and rise it. And when company in a few days back with the commentaries, nobody interested in that anymore. Users solved the problem ourselves, or just, changed opinion about the company. And here I posted screenshots from my LinkedIn profile and how to distinguish good journalists and not so good journalists, I would say. So sometimes people became contributors, and in the top media outlets, there is high demand to get coverage, and then start to sell it. So let's say this is my LinkedIn, and this guy actually texted me and suggested, let's say, price for the Forbes publication. And this is not how journalists work typically. They get paid from the media outlet for interesting topics, and they typically don't sell it like that. This is not journalism. So don't be ashamed and find another writer. You just can say no. That's it. Some media outlets, it's kind of old screenshot, but I would love to keep it. Ask the money. If you pitch press release and they ask you, okay, you want to get the coverage, so pay us for that. This is not also journalism. It's it's a different business model of to get money for media outlet. And again, it's up to you. But I would love to share important things. So typically founders don't understand what they pay for. So you can pay, you can come to media and let's say ask them, okay, I have a press release and I want to get coverage, and pay them for it. Will be sponsored content. Or you can come to journalists with same press release, and if journalists find this topic interesting, then they cover it for free, but it will be journalist, it will be editorial article. So this is kind of different type of how to work with media. And also, I think I mentioned later about it, you can use other type of services, but again, it's up to you. Typically top media outlet, they don't get money for that unless you're going to the let's say commercial department, or you're going in a special project. Then you can get kind of compensation for that. But to pitch your news, you don't need to pay for that. Just to pick the right media outlet. And here, yes, so I'm going to mention a few PR tools, what you can use. Some of them free, some of them you need to pay for that. What helps you actually? So I already mentioned what it's two type of work with media. So if you want, let's say, get coverage anyway, even the media or journalists, they're not interested in that, then you can go to the commercial department and pay them, so it will be sponsored content. Or you can come to the journalist and they create editorial content. Plus, you can use such services like Cision PR Newswire. It's a service for distribute your press release. So you can come to them with press release, and they have a database. For my practice, I didn't use it last time. I mostly do it by hand here, but they don't have big database of the crypto media outlets. So they have big database of tech media, finance media, business media, but not crypto blockchain media outlet, because it's kind of pretty new. And again, so the thing is, do you want to share? So they have a very, very big database, and you have very specific topic, let's say. Do you want to share it for 3 million journalists about your topic? Maybe not, because it became like a spam. When you need to target smaller media amount of journalists, but who is specifically focused on your topic. So think about it. And I found pretty new chain wire, what it's actually focused. I never tried it before, but what actually they focus on blockchain space. Well, let's say it's just an option, especially if you're early days and if you're a team of developers and you don't know how to do PR. So probably this is a solution for you if you have an announcement. This is how you can get, to spread information about the company. So another tool is MacRock. It's like professional service, mostly for PR professional people. And so it's kind of media and journalist database with contacts, but you need to pay for that, for access to that. Help a Reporter. It's a well-known tool, and again, it's for free. So journalists post, even the tier 1 media outlets post their requests, and especially if they're looking for any commentaries. And so again, you can subscribe and you can get notification in your email. It's pretty easy. And also you can follow the top media journalists. If you're back when I told you to create a list and start to monitor the news from your competitors or from industry, so you can follow the journalists on social media. And pretty often they post any request on social media, on Twitter, for example. So this is how you can jump and suggest your help or your commentaries. The next thing is the Lexisnexis. It's also professional monitoring service. Let's say if you already became a big company and Google Alerts is not enough for you, so then it's PR people prefer to use this service. I also really like Chrome extension like Contact Out or Reach Out. When in exchange of a business email, you can get access for, I think, the first 5 for free, and then you need to pay. So this is how you can get the emails of actually not only journalists, any people. So it's pretty convenient. And Amic is like very big professional tool for not just analyze the media space, but it's like analyze the behavior, etc. So it's like mostly for big brand companies, corporations. And this is one of my favorite slides. It's a common mistakes, and please know about it. It's very important. Don't suggest journalist money. They shame such founders. They post screenshots on social media. Again, I would love to repeat, you need to distinguish. You pick journalist, it's a journalist side. So they paid from the media for the stories, what they cover it. Or you go into the commercial department and then you pay for sponsored content, yeah? So, but don't suggest journalist money. Let's say they can interest in your story or not, just find someone else if they say no. But this is kind of bad practice. Call to journalists. In current days, we typically use the messengers or emails. So, but don't call them because they're pretty busy, and you kind of they don't if you call them once, so they can put you in blacklist. So that's a bad practice. So they typically prefer to get press release on email, and then you can find them on Messenger or Twitter or Signal, and kind of follow up with them or kind of have a quick conversation. Or also you can ask them about the preferred method of communication. Embargo typically used for the big announcement, exclusive news. So don't suggest it. Let's say you have a big announcement. Don't suggest it. Pick the top 3 free media outlets or journalists what you're going to pitch. But again, pitch it one by one. If first rejected, don't share it with few people, because then it will confuse the journalists. And also, I would say journalists, some media outlets really shame PR people or founders if they pitch a few journalists at the same media outlet, because they kind of communicate with each other and they kind of became mad about it. So also very important to know the time zone of the journalist. Everybody works from home now and works remotely, and journalists could be everywhere. So please know the time zone of the journalist. Let's say you pitch the story and you put embargo date and time, but make sure the journalists, have enough time for covering this news. So I would say the next very important thing, so don't pitch in the last moment. So you think 1-2 days is enough? No. Tier 1 media outlets, they asked me typically like 5 days if you want to cover it. And sometimes the journalist rejected to cover the story. It's not because it's a bad story, because she or he doesn't have enough time to cover it, because calendar already booked. So 5 days is a good or even more to pitch tier 1 media outlets. And the last thing is ask journalists to delay the publication. Don't do that. They will not do that. It's not how media works. They don't need to show you publication before they're going to post it. So they can share with you the quotas, and you need to prove it, but not all article, because you are not, they don't need to respond to you for that, they don't need your confirmation for that. This is how, journalists work. Yeah, so I mentioned about don't suggest the money. This is example of how journalists shame such people. So they post about it, and they don't hide sometimes the names. So it's a bad practice. And I would love to mention about false. I had it 2 times. So typically, what I can say, to pick tier 1 media outlet, what you want to get publications first and pitch them first. And I had this one case when I pitched Cointelegraph, tier 1 media outlet, and I pitched also local media outlet. Forklog is well-known media in Russian CIS market, so they covered any crypto news in Russian language. And because they work it much faster than big media outlet, they posted the announcement first, and then Cointelegraph discovered this news, even it was in Russian. They decided to withdraw, or let's say to delay the publication from the Cointelegraph website, because they said, okay, that's not exclusive. We want, we're not going to post this news. It was big. I mean, it was big fail, but make sure again. So big media outlet, tier 1 media outlet, they need more time. And so pitch if you want to get publications, pitch them first, or give them more time. The second thing, it's kind of unique story. I don't know if it's true or not, but editor decided to delay publication. This is actually on screenshot, because article didn't get enough views, but I think it's not, that's what it was lie, actually. It was maybe other reasons. Anyway, so that's happened. After 1 month, Forbes decided to delay the publication. Actually, it was about women in the space, women in tech, and my friend journalist posted it on International Women's Day. So, but after 1 month, publication was delayed. And the KPIs. So the key question about PR, is PR measurable or not? Yeah. How to, when you hire someone else in team or agency or freelancer, how estimate the work? And can you get guarantee publication or not, or pay for monthly retainer? So PR is, you can measure it. You can, typically journalists don't share links or don't put the links on publications. Sometimes do, sometimes not. So you can track on Google Analytics how many visitors did you get, or some media, they have open statistics, so you can see how many readers check this article. And people actually mention about it. If you have negotiation, typically you can hear what, okay, I read about you in this media or in this media outlet. So, and also important, what does mean guaranteed publication? Guaranteed publication when you work in the media. And again, even when I was a writer in blockchain media outlet, I couldn't guarantee that, because if I bring this story to the editor and he can tell me, let's keep that. Even if even he is my friend, it doesn't guarantee what we can cover this story. So guarantee publications, when you come in the media to the commercial department, pay them, and they post content, but they mention what it's sponsored content, then it could be guarantee publication. So that's typically pretty, hard to guarantee. At the same time, if you know journalist well and if you know he focuses on such topics, huge probability what you can get publication. Monthly retainer, typically, I would say, well-known PR agency in the space. They work on monthly retainer, and they also focus it on Series A plus startups. So if you're seed stage, early stage startup, don't come to them. It's kind of too early for them. You can't pay monthly retainer because you don't know how many announcements and how much work you will have. For you, will be the best option, hire like contractor or freelancer who can help you. Or hire in team marketing person who can also do PR, if you find such person. Typically, if you already a big company, the post Series A startup, monthly contract with PR agencies typically test period like 3-6 months, because 1 month is not enough to show result. You just prepare all documents, you just start the pitch. So they don't, they don't work on a short term with you. And also how to estimate the quality of your publication. It's a tone of a publication. It's a positive, neutral, or it's negative. So also typically, you want to get like something positive or neutral. And the quality of publication. I mentioned about what content could be sponsored or content could be editorial. So editorial content is more valuable than sponsored. And which tier of media did you get the publication? It's, tier 1, tier 2 is more preferable. And I also would love to mention part of the PR of the company. It's a public speaking at events. And this is also help you to get, to build a personal brand for your founder, or CEO, and to be recognized between, let's say, crypto community or industry, key people in the industry. Yeah. So how you can participate at events? It could be keynote speech. You can share any insights from your industry, from about your product. Or it could be panel discussion. I really personally love panel discussions because typically it's like few people. It's like 5-6 people, and especially if top people in a space, they also participate in this panel discussion, and you can jump on it. Also, it bring you, elevate you in next level. So, and again, typically it's much easier to get a seat on a panel discussion than on keynote speech. Keynote speech, you should be like, very well-known person already. So press conferences is also for big companies, but what you can do, it's like one-to-one interviews, and sometimes companies rent meeting rooms or booth in conferences, and then you can invite journalists and introduce them to the founder. And this is how they can, to get any commentaries or interviews. Also, it could be product demo zone on the conferences, so you can show your product, and community meetups. It's very popular. Let's say, like Ethereum, for example, organized community meetups all around the world. And here I mentioned the biggest conferences in the space. So I would recommend to check it and prepare in advance. If you want to speak there, it's better to apply like few months before the conference. More chances what you will be approved. Don't do it in the last moment. And some tips what I can share with you about the conference, how evaluate them. So check the program, speakers, partners. If a tier 1 media, tier 1 event, typically you will see the tier 1 speakers and sponsors. Schedule the meetings before the event. Don't do it in the last moment, because typically people already booked, and it's hard to get attention from them. Again, invite journalists to visit your booth, to test your product, to meet your founder. This is good chance when you can meet on in person, offline. And again, if you know journalists and you met in person, it's much easier to pitch them, because typically you pitch, online, and it's a good chance to meet people in person. So, and have good, contacts there. That's it. So if you have questions, please feel free to ask me about it. Here's my contact information, and you can reach me in social media or text me on Telegram. And I would love to answer your questions.
Evelina, thank you very much for the presentation. Really appreciate it. I'm going to give you 2-minute intermission, and then we'll come back for the questions, okay?
Yeah, sounds great.
All right, perfect. All right, all right. Man, you gave us a lot of great tips that I actually wish the committee members at IWB knew about before we started this event, because we realized that marketing is very important, right? Marketing and PR. Even though you may have a great idea and you may have a great event, if you don't market it a proper way, you're not going to get the interest from the general public, right?
Yeah.
So it, you ran down, what it is to be a journalist, right? And then you went through, what to think about when you're interested in doing press releases, all kinds of marketing. And then you gave us some great tips about, events that are coming up. Now, my question is about these events. Like, there's a lot of events in this ecosystem, right? And these events, they pop up, and next thing you know, it's about to happen in a couple of weeks. How do you know in advance, especially for someone who just started in this space, how do you know in advance?
Well, typically, I run, for example, events calendar, and this is what actually marketing person can do in your team. Or you can find the websites where you can find the events calendar. So typically, it's like the key events in the industry. If you want, I can share the link on.
Yes.
Okay. So let me find it. Yeah, so typically you can find the link, some resources what actually post the key events in industry. Let's say Ethereum, for example, if you're interested in this events, they have a list of Ethereum meetups and conferences around the globe, during the year. And let me also find the link on the blockchain conferences. Yeah, so I highly recommend to follow it and to check and apply in advance, because you can get more chances if you apply for speaking early. More chances that you can be invited as a speaker, especially the tier 1 events. So let me find one moment.
No problem. This is going to be very interesting for a lot of people, because I know that, the Bitcoin conference is coming up in April. And then, shortly after, it's like, I believe New York, NFT New York is in June this time.
Yeah, I can mention the key conferences. I think every month will be the big conference, and smaller, actually, also small meetups. So in April, yes, it will be Bitcoin 2022. In May, it will be permissionless in Miami, and in June, it will be 2 conferences. NFT New York conference, and then Consensus in Austin. And in March, actually, like I think in 2 weeks, it will be NFT LA conference. So this is the biggest for the next few months.
Yeah.
Let me find events.
Yeah, to get to know those timelines for those conferences, I think it's going to be very valuable for a lot of people. I've been in this space for a while, and all of these conferences, they're great, but they all seem to come up around the same time and quickly too. Next thing you know, you hear the buzzing, and awesome. So I will post this.
Yeah, you can share that.
Yeah, I will post this in the general chat so everyone can know. And now you should all have information about the upcoming conferences. And I think that's a handy tool. As you mentioned, people have the opportunity to be speakers, and there's always speaker calls for some of these conferences, right?
Yeah.
And that's a way to get yourself out there, to get yourself as a thought leader in this space. And I think that's a great way for people to at least start creating that community, which is very important.
Yeah, so this is only one of the sources you can find. I think on CoinMarketCap, actually, they also have a page with events. So many resources. This is one of them, actually.
Okay. Awesome. And, about you. So we got a brief introduction about you, but what brought you into this space? Like what attracted you?
Well, it's kind of an interesting story, because I used to work in fintech company. It was equivalent Square, but in the European market. And it was kind of pretty natural, because the founder of this company started to involve in blockchain. They started to use the blockchain for the fintech solution. And it was early 2016 when I first time heard about it. And I was curious about it. I came to the founder and asked him to share with me the key information. And later I realized, okay, seems like it's next big thing. And I found what founder of Waves was looking for the new team member, and I actually saw his post on the Facebook and texted him, and this is how I jumped in that. I mean, it was that time it's pretty early, but I realized it's I want to be there. I'm interested in that. Even blockchain pretty technical, and I don't have technical background, but I was curious about it, and this is why I joined it. And since then, I'm in the space. And again, so if you don't have technical background or financial background, don't be ashamed about it. Don't worry. In the space, a lot of work for the business people, let's say for content marketing or for PR, for building the community. So it's obviously a lot of work for people with business background or non-technical background.
Awesome. And going back to marketing and PR, there's a lot of NFT related projects that are coming up, and everyone wants to know, like, how do I get my marketing piece out there in front of the general public? Like, what should I do? Is there certain tips that they should abide by in order to successfully sell their project?
Well, I had experience to work with NFT company. It's called Rarible. It's an NFT marketplace. And I'm pretty excited what's happening in the market. But again, I think you need to distinguish things. You're an artist, you want to promote the collection, or as, for example, myself, I focus it to promote the technology companies. And again, I kind of check it, the few NFT collections, and I found out what very successful collections, they have a kind of something behind it. It's not just art, it's good, but again, for example, they going to support charities, they going to support women or children's or animals. So it should be something behind it. Then people not just buy NFTs, they donate this money. So it's kind of win-win. And I really love story about a teenager who created a collection with whales to support whales population. So try to find something what it would be helpful or useful for audience to mark your collection. And again, so for example, trend of collections was the last year, and this year mostly infrastructure solutions. What actually it's like next step when it's kind of industry development, when it's not only collection but also like technology solutions for artists or for content creators in the space. So
okay, all right, cool. And then with reaching out to journalists, and you mentioned that you should keep a list, like identify the journalist that writes about this space, right? And we're realizing, like your one of your slides mentioned, that a lot more regular news online publications are really starting to pay attention. I did see Yahoo Finance. I believe I saw Bloomberg.
Yahoo Finance also covered this topic.
Yeah. So there's a lot more of them in this space. So do they have like specific individuals, or could you just reach out to the newspaper or the online publication?
Yes, typically big media outlets, they have journalists would focus it on finance and also personal finance or crypto or market. So you can, depends on your product, you can find there are journalists. So check before you're going to pitch your startup or your news, check the journalist profile on Twitter or LinkedIn, and they typically mention what topics they focus it on. So you can pick the right journalist. And again, the common problem what the startup founders, they pitch not relevant journalists. They pick the very big database, for example, or somebody shared it with them. I don't recommend to use it. Just find the relevant person, be pretty selective. Find the person who is focused on especially on your topic. Let's say even tier 1 media outlets who is focused on general interest, like Bloomberg, or they have a journalist what started to cover topics about crypto. So just pick the right journalist and pitch them your story.
Awesome. And you mentioned, could they, if they identified that individual on LinkedIn, right? Could they reach out to them on LinkedIn and pitch them on LinkedIn? Okay.
No, they prefer to not pitch on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is like, your public profile, but as I mentioned, it's better to find the contact, and typically journalists post email on a Twitter account, or you can use any tools what I mentioned, like Chrome extension, to find the contacts, or you can find the media actually website. So typically share your announcement on email, and you can also reach the journalist and ask email, for example, on Twitter. So Twitter or Signal, it's a good way to communicate, to use the message platform for them, and share the press release on email. So don't use LinkedIn. Even sometimes the journalists post on LinkedIn, so don't pitch me. The same with investors, actually. They don't pitch me on LinkedIn. They don't check it.
Okay. All right. That's good to know. So you're only using LinkedIn just to identify who the specific journalist is. And then you need to do your research to find other contact information to reach out to them. All right. So that's good. Now, is there a specific time that you should send out emails? Because I know journalists are really busy. Is it good to send it out, I don't know, Monday morning, or is it better to do it some other time? Like, when is the opportune time? Because I actually researched that. We had a press release for this event, and I wanted to know when is the perfect time to reach out to journalists so that they can, see, because I know they're busy, right? So that they can see the PR. And so what is your advice?
Well, it's not like specific time, really, but I guess, the Monday morning is the busiest time for them. And again, big media outlets, they have editors or journalists that work or cover news during the work days. And sometimes they have a weekend journalist what specifically focused on weekend. You can find some of them. And again, depends again when you want to post it, when you're ready to share this announcement, because you can get the news anytime. It's not like when you have a specific day time when you kind of going to share with them. But I would say the best what you can do in advance. Let's say if you pitch a journalist and he or she is not interested in your story, just pitch another one and pitch another one and another one, and you spend time on that because you also waited for a response, and should just give you more time for that. I don't know the specific day time. No, I think no, not for that. Yeah. So just give you more time for your pitch, and find the journalist who is actually interested in your story, interested in your topic, and don't rush in last moment.
All right, those are good advice. So it's kind of like the numbers game, and do it in advance. All right. Are there any other last words that you want to provide the public?
Well, I would say the next thing. So sometimes founders start to do about PR and ask me about to do PR for the company very early. Let's say they don't have MVP, or they just launched MVP. And especially in crypto space, when it was hype back in 2017 and actually last year, when it's PR became like the rush around PR. Okay, we need PR, we need to gain the community. It's important to build the community, but also very important to build the product first. So I always tell my clients, product first. You need to build the product. You need to hear your users. This is how you can, to build the core community. It's very important. And don't focus on PR. PR is just highlight the main things. It's also could be very helpful, especially if you're talking about new solution and you need to kind of educate your audience. It helps you. But again, if you don't have product, if you just do first steps, focus on that, to build it, and then PR helps you to to attract first users, highlight it, but don't do opposite, not PR first and then product. It could be turned the wrong way, actually. And actually, if you remember the hype around ICO back in 2017, what actually happened at a lot of companies raised the money, they do PR, etc., but then disappeared, or didn't build the product, or actually users don't need such product, and then you became the highlight, and now everybody knows about you, and then you kind of have a responsibility to people who invested in you. So PR could be turned, it could be good for you, and also can be wrong if you kind of highlight yourself and be everywhere and conference and media outlets, but then you didn't build the company. So think about it. So it's a responsibility. So product first.
Awesome. You heard it here. Product first before you even consider PR, which is great advice. We got a lot of valuable information from Evelina. Thank you very much, Evelina. Really appreciate it. Her Twitter handle is right there. Make sure you reach out to her, contact her. And you can also find her in the IWB Women of Blockchain Discord. So make sure you jump in there as well. So thank you. Really appreciate it. We will go ahead and take a 15. Wow. We will take a 1 minute break, and then we'll be right back. And we will have our next speaker, Sira, jump on and talk about her wonderful platform that she and a few individuals have built to help you play and earn. Awesome. So now we're back, and I have Sira on stage with me. And Sira, if you don't mind unmuting and sharing who you are and what you're bringing to this space.
Hi guys, how are you? My name is Sira Turay. I'm the CTO of Definicy. So just a little bit about myself. I'm doing my PhD in blockchain, and it's on the emphasis on how third world countries can become more technologically advanced through blockchain. I'm also a host of a platform for women by women called CryptoBase, where we educate over 25,000 people already. Please join us at and I'll share a link of CryptoBase because that's also what I'm part of. And I am, also wrote a white paper for a third world country in Africa, and currently am helping them integrate, cryptocurrency into their economy. So I'm super excited to talk about this, but I also want to thank Yanka and thank this great organization for having me host and talk about our company and yeah, I just wanted to say that. So I'm gonna start presenting. So like I said, I'm a CTO of Definicy, and so yeah. what is Defensicy, right? Defensicy is a company that, well, let me let me get this transition out. It's a company that focuses on NFT, Metaverse, AR, VR, and play to earn. And I will discuss what each of those terms mean. And later on in the presentation, we'll show some of our work. So who is our target audience? Our target audience is third countries such as Africa, Asia, and many others to help, our goal is to help empower and help them earn cryptocurrencies and or slash NFTs, right? That's who our biggest target audience is. We do also help just in general because that's kind of our ethos, honestly, is just to help those who are in need and want to enter the crypto space. But one thing I do want to discuss is this important concept to our company, which is play to live. Why that slogan out of everything? The reason why we say this is because Defensicy is a platform that allows people to earn life-changing money, and allow people to play the games they love, and also help others enter this crypto space and do what they love, such as, and I'll talk about it later down the road. We have helped so many artists showcase in a lot of great exhibits their art, because that's just the principle we live by, and that's kind of why we have our slogan "Play to Live." So yeah. Well, let's even talk about some of the products, like what are each item. So, for example, what is an NFT, right? NFT stands for non-fungible token. And the best way to describe it, honestly, it's a unique digital asset that's irreplaceable. Why is that important, right? The reason why it's important for it to be a unique digital asset is, so, for example, if we have like a Picasso, right, we have like his famous, artwork. There's people, whoever buys it, that artwork is theirs and no one else can copy it and all that. And that is very, very important, because if you buy something, you don't want, especially something so unique like an artwork, you don't want other people to be able to copy it and say that it's theirs. So this is the reason why the whole idea of it being irreplaceable is very, very important. It's usually stored on the blockchain, which is, the reason why that's also important is it's also a safe place for NFTs to be stored on. It's basically a database that makes sure all your assets are basically secured. And that's very, very important, and usually represents real world object like art, like I said previously, music, in-game items, images and videos, so on and so forth. And I will be sharing an NFT later on down the road that our company has created. So yeah, so I'll give you an example later down the road. What is a metaverse even, right? Metaverse, the way, we look at it, is a 3D virtual reality universe, honestly, right? And it can be, digitally representation of people, place, or thing on it. And the reason why the metaverse became so popular is because it gives people the experience of being able to visit certain places that they wouldn't be able to in a 3D world on your computer screen or through Oculus or, VR and all that type of stuff. And it's very, very important because of that. And it allows people to interact across the world. Because I know one thing that was tough without the metaverse and, even just, gaming and stuff like that, you couldn't interact with people from like Germany or the US or stuff like that. And that's one thing, metaverse helps with, is bringing people closer and having cool avatars and, having the experience like you're there. So yeah, that's kind of what a metaverse is. And please, any of the stuff I present today, please let me know if you have any questions. Yanka will, take up a question and probably ask me or on and so forth. But yeah. what is AR even, right? AR stands for augmented reality, and it's usually a digital element that can appear in the real world. A good example of this is Pokemon Go, where you can walk around, but there's like a digital asset appearing inside of our real world. And Pokemon Go is probably one of the biggest, forefront for AR work, honestly. And it was so popular because one thing that's good about augmented reality, and this is just using an example of Pokemon Go, was it made people active, interact with people all over the world, interact with their friends, help people exercise. There's just so many benefits of having augmented reality, and it's really really cool. So yeah, it's really really important. And I think especially like Pokemon Go was a very influential factor in augmented reality, honestly. What is VR, right? And basically what it is a virtual reality. The one thing that's different between AR and VR is AR, you can just use your phone, and a digital item or so on and so forth will display onto a real life object in your room, outside. And with VR, you would have to use some sort of object to make you experience that virtual reality. For example, like if you have like an Oculus headphones, headset, in order for you to be able to immerse yourself into the world. So you feel like you're at a concert, or you're in the whatever world that you decide to go into. And so that's one of the biggest difference between VR and AR. And so another thing we'll look into is, play to earn. What is that? Um, you know, Play to earn became a really big thing around, during 2021, honestly, and it's thanks to Axie Infinity and a lot of these big other companies. Um, and what is play to earn, right? You heard a lot of people say that term, and because it can be so broad, but in this sense, in the way we look at it, is crypto games involving some type of like crypto payment through playing games. These usually are, in-game currencies, carrying out a quest win, or winning battles, or completing some challenge to earn either NFT or cryptocurrency, depending on what you want. Yeah, so kind of like example, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other tokens that are on a decentralized exchange. So yeah. So the reason why I went through all these definitions, I feel like it's important for people to understand what those things are, and because that's what our companies focused on at this very moment in time. This next part of the presentation, I'm going to be talking about some of our work, so give you some examples of some of the stuff we have done so far. And it's because one thing I was excited about when this company came to be was helping as many people as possible get into the crypto space. And that's what one of our missions is to help as many people get into the crypto space and make it fundamentally easier for people to understand it, because it can be a complex world. But so this is an example of one of the things we've done. So like I said previously, we do create NFTs. We were part of the NFT art exhibit. Just wanted to click on this video, kind of show you what type of experience there are. Actually, our CEO Michelle's in this video, which is kind of cool. But yeah, here's the video. So our team actually teamed up with Creativo to host this event. We actually helped over 20 artists display the great artwork, honestly, and it was really a lot of fun, honestly. As you can tell, there's a lot of fire. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. CEO Michelle actually spoke at this event, and like I was saying, the NFT that was created, our graphic designer Derek actually was the person who created this NFT, and so that artwork got displayed. Her artwork, because she's an artist, just to let you guys know, and her artwork was displayed. So yeah, so this was kind of the experience of that. Oh, sorry. So like I was saying previously, oh shoot. Okay, well. Okay, like I was saying previously, our CEO Michelle was there. Derek, that's our graphic designer of this company. He's our chief designer officer, honestly. So he was there. Damon Sharp, which is one of our clients at this very moment in time, and I will talk about that later. And kind of display what type of stuff we've been doing with him. And a lot of these artists on this list, we actually helped display their art. So it was a lot of fun. So yeah. So our company actually created a metaverse to help people display their art. And so one of our products is actually showing up, which is right here, which I'll talk about later on. So this was really a lot of fun to create. And yeah, so a lot of artists were able to show their stuff at such a big conference, big exhibit in Miami. So yeah. Yeah, so this is just another, look at the metaverse that, we created for this event. So yeah. So another place we went to is, Showtime LA. We had our NFT there. And we also helped with hosting it and helped a bunch of artists also display their work, which was a lot of fun. And our client is also here was able to display at Showtime LA. So one of the things we're doing right now is we're working with Damon Sharp. This is a picture of him kind of with our NFT inside his heart, which is something I'll describe later on, just to give you a background of him. Let me let the transitions go through. So he's a Grammy Award-winning producer. He worked with Ariana Grande, Jennifer Lopez, Pitbull, and many more artists, and he has over 2 billion streams. Honestly, he has so many accomplishments, I couldn't fit it on a PowerPoint. Like, I probably could talk 1 hour about just Damon himself because he has accomplished so much. It was funny when I met him. We were talking just about some of the artists he worked with. I'm like, and some of the songs he worked. And one of my favorite songs personally was Jennifer Lopez, "Love Doesn't Cost a Thing." Apparently, he was a songwriter for that, which was kind of funny because I was like, oh my god, I love that song. And he honestly is an awesome person. Such a beautiful person. Honestly, he's amazing. Honestly. If you guys ever get to meet him in real life, you would like fall in love with him because that's what happened to me because he's just that amazing, honestly. So at this very moment, we're first creating an NFT for him. So we created an NFT, which I'm just going to describe next. Which is basically he created an original song called Tokyo Cyber Heart. And basically we created a collection of 10,000, which is basically 30 fractional pieces of that song that costs about 0.05 ETH. What you get out of this NFT? First off, you get his, unique song that no one else ever heard of, only you. And if you buy all 30 of them, you get the full song, and no one else will have access to that song. We're also actually going to create a metaverse for him because he's going to have a concert. And yeah, so that's something we will look into, honestly, and do. That's something we actually are going to be doing, and we'll make an announcement of when that's happening. But yeah, if you want to support such a great artist, please go to OpenSea. So I was actually going to show the NFT collection. So this is the collection. Basically, like I said, it was 30 fractional pieces. Just to give you an example, this is one of the artworks that one of our artists created. As you can tell, it's really, really awesome. So this is just one of the NFTs that we created. And just to show a little bit more about this, there's actually 5 different types of hearts, which is the robot heart, which is this one right here. There's the gemstone heart. And I think I have this in my PowerPoint. Yeah, so let me go back to there. So just to talk about them a little bit, just to give you some example. So there's the robot hearts, the 80s heart, the gemstone hearts, and the plasma heart. And basically we basically made 5 different versions of each one. So like I said previously, if you collect all of them, you get Damon Sharp's unique song that only you would have access to. So like I was saying, so you saw some of the examples I showed. We have put a lot of his work, and this is just a small list, in a lot of exhibits like Cryptopia, Showtime LA, NFT exhibit, NFT Global Summit in China, and many other places. We also did one in Rome, so he was there. So this is an example. We actually had him. We also had him, speak in a lot of these places, honestly. And so, yeah, this is just a photo of him in Creativia. So he ended up speaking there, just talking about artists in general, because he's been in the space for a very, very long time. And kind of just putting his perspective, because it's always good to get a perspective of someone that's been in the space for a very long time. And so this is just an example of our NFT being in the Cryptopia exhibit, actually. And we also help many artists get into this one too, because that's our philosophy in this company, honestly. And that's what we believe, is to help as many people get into the crypto space. And this is our Tokyo Cyber Heart there, as you can see. So yeah, the coolest part one I will say about it too is I thought the one at Rome, even though I love every one of them, Rome was pretty cool, honestly, having our NFT displayed there. So yeah. Yeah, this is, oh, sorry, okay. This is ours in Rome, actually, so it's just what was displayed there, honestly. And this is one of our Gemstar hearts that we displayed for Rome. But, yeah. Sorry, okay. So, that's some of the work we have done previously. Some of the stuff we're doing now is we're actually we did a partnership with House of Rare. And basically we, DFantasy and, House of Rare kind of partnered up, and we created a private party, which is this Monday. So please come to it. There's an Eventbrite, which, Yoinka will share, and I will share in the Discord and stuff. So please follow. It's really, really exciting. And yeah, so this is something we're doing in it's South by Southwest. This is, one of the conferences down in Texas. But yeah, we're having a private party. We're creating the metaverse for this, actually. So yeah, please come by. And to get access to us, we have an Eventbrite on and I'll show you that. Yeah, and I will put a link in the Discord, and I can have Yanka display this, but this is basically what it is. It's a metaverse, epic NFT / metaverse private party. And yeah, please come, and to get tickets. This is a private party, and like I said, it's really, really cool. Please let me know if you have any questions or anything like that. You can, message me on Discord, which Yanka can provide, or Twitter, honestly, which Yanka will provide in this presentation. So back to the presentation. Another thing we're doing is we're going to be part of the Getaway to the Metaverse in Dubai, which is awesome. And legit, we're going to be displaying our NFT. It's going to be like a global art NFT art exhibit. Our client's NFT is going to be displayed there. Michelle, who's CEO of this company, also is going to be displaying her art piece. And so this is something that's really, really exciting too. So we have a lot of things going on, as you can tell. And so yeah, so these are some of the things that we're doing in the future. Please, and Yinka will show some of this. Follow our link tree. Follow us on social media. So you guys can stay up to date with the latest information about some of the things we're doing. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Well, that's all I have as a presentation. So,
Hi,
yeah.
Sarah. Thank you very much for this wonderful presentation. Really love it. I'm going to go ahead and give you 2 minutes to catch your breath, and then we'll come back and I'll ask you some questions.
Awesome.
All right. Hi, Sarah. How are you?
Great, Yinka. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Now, I have to mention that Defentasy was actually one of our first sponsors, And I really appreciate, you and Michelle agreeing to sponsor this event. And I know as women, you guys really understand the importance of making sure that people understand that women are in this space and that we're building and we're creating. And I love the fact that you guys are building like a metaverse play to earn platform. So kudos to both of y'all.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. But you know what? I know you, right? And I know you're hard at work, right? And there's so much layers to you. So I want you to formally introduce yourself. I know you introduce yourself as a CTO, a defensive, but there's more to you than that. So go ahead and take the time to introduce yourself.
Okay, well, just a little bit about myself. So, one of the things I do is I host basically on Clubhouse and Twitter space called a platform called Crypto Babes, which is a platform for women by women. Basically we just educate about blockchain, the market, and how to get involved in the crypto space in general. So that's something we do. We have over 25,000 followers. Please join Crypto Babes, because that platform is really, really awesome, and I'm part of it. So there's that. Like I said, I'm also doing a PhD in blockchain. I had to, because as a woman, I had to navigate the waters and be like, school, look, you're gonna create a PhD in blockchain for me. So that's what I'm doing it in. And just to talk a little bit more about that, is my whole goal, and this is kind of my life goal, honestly, and this is why I'm doing a PhD. I don't think anybody does a PhD just for kicks and giggles. Is literally to help third world countries become more technologically advanced. And I thought the best way to do that was through blockchain. Especially, it's funny because my mom was actually the one that got me involved in space. I've been in space since 2016. And, I was invested in it a little bit, but as time went by, I actually, took it seriously and went into an academy and just went deep dive into this crypto waters, honestly. And from there, I decided I wanted to make my whole life just about this topic alone, honestly. And I believe that with this technology, countries can advance and become, independent of the first world countries. Like I said previously, I actually wrote a white paper about how third world countries can become more technologically advanced through blockchain, and how they can, change their currencies to Bitcoin or Ethereum or some type of token, or if they want to, create their own, CBDC, which is a central bank digital currency, which is what a lot of countries are doing right now. And so I did a paper on that, and I'm actually helping a country currently with that type of stuff. And kind of just helping them, advising them on how to structure their whole economy. I won't say what country because that's classified for now. But so yeah, that's something I'm doing, which is really, really exciting. But yeah, that's just a little bit about me. I could go on for days and days about my involvement in crypto. I also do, I guess I'll mention this, I also do crypto consulting, and that, like I said, basically, the one of it was helping, a third country do this. Another thing is, helps websites and all these other stuff, and, on the team, I'm actually the smart contract developer, helped with the, back end stuff of the NFTs and all that stuff. So yeah.
Wow. Wow. Let's just marinate on the fact that you're getting a PhD in blockchain. That's wow. Wow. You don't hear that often, right? And especially from a woman. And so kudos to you. That's fantastic. And at the same time, you're a consultant, which is awesome, because we like to see more women in this space, providing their insight and also leading projects. So I'm really happy about what you're doing and your contribution to this space, because I know with your insight and your background, right, that you're going to provide the best type of resources for individuals that do contact you, just like all women, right? So yeah. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Inga. Honestly, it's an honor to be on part of this stage, because I really believe in this movement of yours, and I believe that we need more spaces for women to prosper, and you are providing that, and I think that's an accomplishment of its own, honestly, because I believe that I feel like the blockchain space will be a better space for women, honestly, because we can expand, and it's so new still. So I think it's such a beautiful thing that you created something like this, and just to help people, navigate these waters. Because I think that's another thing too, because it's a complex space, honestly.
Yeah. You're right. It is. And there's so much to know and learn, right? And things change constantly. And, we all joke, but in reality, there's some truth to it that this space moves so fast. It's like dog years. One day can be like a month, right? And then 1 year could be in dog years, right? And so we have a lot of content, a lot of information. And one of the good thing about this space is that there's always people who are willing to educate and provide information. So Crypto Babes, I love Crypto Babes. I love what you ladies are doing on Clubhouse. How long has that been around? And, give us some insight into what type of topics you guys discuss on in that club.
So Crypto Babes was, happened during the pandemic. So during 2021, that's when it really started to be established, honestly. It's basically, like I said, it's a platform for women by women. And the person who co-founded these is, Alejandra and Ashley. And some of the things we talk about is the market itself, right? Talking about trading analysis, strategy of how to approach this market. Because, I think a lot of people make the mistake of, okay, it's volatile. Well, this is a totally new concept. And, it's going to take time for it to, study and all that. So that's something we talk about, kind of strategies of, every day or, every week, how to kind of approach this market. We don't give financial advice. That's just, something you decide to do. If you want to follow our advice, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine too. Another thing is, this is what the rooms I host is just talking about the technology behind it. The reason why I think that's important is because people talk about the market, but it's so important to understand the tech behind how this all works, right? If you don't understand the technology behind it, then it becomes very, very hard to understand and trying to, like, whenever, especially when the market goes down. So like right now, market's gone down. If you're invested in stuff project you believe in, you're able to hold it and you're able to make better decisions about it because you understand the technology behind what you're invested in. And I think that's very, very important. We also talk about the use cases for blockchain. And I think there's so many, obviously. This is why I'm doing a PhD in it. But yeah, so that's some of the things we do. And then another thing we like talking about, just in general, is how women can get involved in the space. Kind of do that, and we each do consulting in different things. For me, I consult on the tech side, especially on how, like, with programmers and stuff like that. They talking about, hey, how do I become a programmer in general? Because I think that's really, really important. And at this very moment in time, this is such a digital age that it's really important for people to understand how to code a little bit. It's getting to that point because everything's online now, which is kind of crazy. So those are just some of the things we talk about and some of the things we do. And Yanka, I always love hosting you on there because you're just a wealth of knowledge yourself.
Thank you. No, I love being in that room with you ladies when I can, right? And we always have some deep discussions. And, I know that you guys provide a lot of knowledge there. And so my other question for you is, what is your hopes and aspiration for this ecosystem that we're building, right? You're involved in the metaverse, and the metaverse is one of those places that a lot of people are hoping will give them that escape from their regular life. And then people are hoping that they can recreate and reinvent themselves. So what about you? What do you hope the metaverse will provide?
Honestly, I'm hoping that the metaverse will be a place where people, like I was saying previously, people are able to connect around the world, and we can make the physical into, this 3D world that we decided to be, right? I think that's the biggest thing. And one other thing is to earn money. So like, like our slogan, play to live. We want people to be able to play and live life, right? And the one thing I think would be great is people are able to earn money doing the things they love. And that's kind of our whole philosophy. And even just with NFTs and all that stuff, as you can tell, we try to help as many people as possible. But with the metaverse, I think that that's really the goal I want it to be. I want it to be a tool where people all over the world can connect, and people can create communities in a 3D world and create unique avatars that, that, because, what some things that, one thing that's nice is escaping reality sometimes. And in these type of worlds, you could be whatever you want to be, which is, I think, the whole principle of it. And I like the whole spirit of the crypto space is freedom and decentralization and being your own bank and just being you, honestly. Because like with the current system we have, it's really hard to do that. It's, you have the dollar, which is just a dollar. And the one thing that makes me excited even just about metaverse, just in the crypto space in general, is the idea that money is what, or currency is basically on how people value it. And I think that's a really important thing. And the metaverse embraces that concept of just, it's a world that you want it to be, or it's a way to interact with people around the world.
No, you're right. You're 100% right with that. And as we know, there's all kinds of people around the world, right? There's people that you will get along with, and then there's people that intentions are just to troll, right? So we had this discussion, which was a topic for yesterday, about policing. What do you think about policing in the metaverse?
To be honest, and this is kind of like now called Meta, Facebook problem, right? A lot of people got mad at Facebook a little bit because of the fact that they police people's speech. I don't agree with violence. There has to be some limit there, here and there, but I don't believe in it at all. I think the whole spirit of the crypto space was to escape those parties that, basically police us. And so if we're doing the same thing in our spaces and stuff like that, that defeats the whole purpose of this whole crypto space a little bit, right? So I'm kind of against it. Do I think there should be limitations? Yes. Like, violence, all that type of stuff, obviously. But I think people should be able to say whatever they want and do whatever they want, at some extent, not being inappropriate and all, but I don't believe in policing. And that's kind of where I'm at with this. I don't believe in that type of stuff, and I believe that it should just be free, because then you're just making things centralized, which is what we're trying to escape from, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So, you broached that subject, the whole centralized versus decentralization, right? As you know, there are several different metaverses out there. There are some that are centralized, right? And then there are some that are decentralized. What do you see as the future of this metaverse that we're creating and at this point experiencing to some degree?
I see a couple, things from this. I guess the one thing is there are always going to be platforms that are centralized no matter what, even though it's in the crypto space, we can't control that. What I see more of is I see a lot more people, creating more metaverses, and be able to kind of look like, I kind of see it looking kind of like how Facebook is, where you have your groups and you create a metaverse and you kind of hang out there, kind of just like kind of like how we are in the real world at this moment. I think that's where we're heading to, and at some point there's going to be metaverses that are going to help with a lot of things, like, for example, Louis Vuitton, instead of having a physical, store, they will have it in the metaverse, and people being able to shop on the metaverse, kind of like Sims. I kind of see our world kind of going into that direction, which is kind of a double-edged sword, right? Because, at the end of the day, we want people, as metaverse companies, yeah, we want people online, but, we don't want people to escape that real world, right? Too much. But I feel like that's where we're heading to, where everything is going to be online. And like Louis Vuitton and all these stores are going to be online. They're already started doing that. Nike, a lot of these companies are heading into that direction. And a lot of these like big firms like Deloitte and stuff like that are and people like me and small fries like me and stuff like that are going to be advising on how to even enter the crypto space more. So I kind of just see our whole world kind of going into the metaverse.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you did mention, some of these big companies that are already stepping in. What is it, 2 weeks ago or so, or maybe a week ago? I read somewhere where JP Morgan is starting to establish a presence and as a bank, right, in the metaverse. And I thought, wow, we have arrived, right? I mean,
Right.
you have central entities, a lot of them who are like, yo, this is a big play for us, right? This is us scaling and keeping with the times. And they don't want to get left behind too. At first they ignored, they talked bad about this space, that we're this ecosystem, right? They were adamantly against it, vocal about it, especially their CEO. And now it's like, and then we start realizing that, they've been trademarking, they've been participating, and now they're acquiring companies, and now they're going full fledged into this whole ecosystem by creating a presence in the metaverse. So that's the testimony to, the whole ecosystem and what we're building here. That, when it started with the buzz and then it grew to like a movement, and now it's an ecosystem. It's a space, right? And it cannot be ignored, regardless of the amounts of negative the narratives that's pushed towards it and attached to it. This space is moving forward, and a lot of people are getting on board, and I think that's great. It shows the growth of this space, and it also shows the importance that collectively we're all building something, and I think that's fantastic there. So for you, what is your next step? Because I know you're working on a lot, and you did mention you're helping a country in Africa, approach the cryptocurrency as their legal tender, and I think that's actually fantastic, right? So what is your next step?
Honestly, first off, dependency is one of my main focus at this moment in time. Hopefully, creating a metaverse for Damon Sharp and, having people come to that. That's one of the future steps. Just expanding that, creating our own metaverse, our own NFTs that people can, look at. Another thing, just personally, it's just continue on this PhD, road and try to see if we can expand, not just with this one country, so to other countries that want to get into this space, because a lot of first world countries, have a huge lock on these countries, and that's part of the reason why they can't do that. And they have so much resources, so much good natural resources. And so if they can escape the system that they're in right now, that would really help. Because a lot of these first world countries benefit from their natural resources. That's one of the reasons why they're getting held back, right? And so I'm just going to continue on helping as many people in many countries as possible. And so there's that. Also, just keep consulting people, keep educating people through Crypto Babes. By the way, I'll send an event, right? Crypto Babes during Bitcoin Miami is actually going to be hosting a workshop, drinks and networking opportunity. So please come. Because that's another thing, is to actually Crypto Babes itself is actually going to, do real life events and try to meet people where they are, because we have so many people all over the world. So that's another thing I'm going to be doing. But yeah, that's just some of the things on my plate. Yanko.
Yeah, I mean, you have a lot of stuff on your plate, and I'm just wondering, how do you find the time? Because I know for me, it does get overwhelming. So what do you do to relax and try to keep track of, what's going on at any given time?
Honestly, it's funny because a lot of people would think I'm like a huge planner. I'm not a planner person, actually. So I honestly just take it a day at a time. I think that's the best way to approach it. Um, you know, that's one thing. Another thing is I love this space so much, and so I kind of get energized by helping those around me and around those who want to understand and learn about this space. So that's another thing, is I kind of just, do that. But one thing I do to relax, I like to, watch TV, talk to my family, just sometimes listen to, some other crypto podcasts and all these other stuff. And that's kind of what I do to just relax and just that, because one thing, please go to this Sunday with Mika, with all the yoga and relaxing, because I think that's so important. So I
Yes.
try to relax, try to work out, just to relieve my stress. But yeah, I just take it a day at a time. I think that's the best approach. And one thing I would do, and the one thing I will quote, and this is something I learned the hard way, it's just do what you can do, right? Do what control what you can't control. And if you can't do it, you have people help you out, and I think that's really, really important.
No, I think it is very important. And you mentioned our Self-Care Sunday. That's one of the things that I wanted to make sure that this conference has, right? It's every day of the month. And that's 31 days, including weekends. And, a lot of people want to relax on Sunday. And sometimes our relaxation is just sitting and watching shows, or maybe listening to Clubhouse as a podcast, or, just taking care of chores, right? And sometimes we do need to focus and recenter on who we are and what we're providing to the space. And so I wanted to incorporate self-care in this conference so that people can get insights as to how to, recenter themselves and how to de-stress as well, because it's very important for us to take care of our mental health. So yes, we will be having Self-Care Sunday. Any last words that you want to provide before you leave?
Yes, people, please support this movement. It's a beautiful movement that Yinka is doing, and I love her to death, honestly. But yeah, another thing is, if you want to really support the fantasy and what we're doing, please help buy some of the Damon Sharp Tokyo Cyber Hearts, and because he's an amazing person, and that would be a huge help if you to support that, honestly. And kind of just follow us um on all our social medias and all of that. That would be very, very helpful, because at the end of the day, you would be updated with the latest and greatest news, honestly. So please do that. And yeah, if you have any questions, message me on Twitter. I love meeting new people and helping people as much as I can. So yeah, Yanka, thank you so much for having me on stage. It's such an honor to be with such a lovely lady like yourself.
Oh, thank you very much, Sarah. It's an honor to have you on stage and have you talk about Defentasy. And as I said, you guys were no hesitation, the first people to say, yes, we will sponsor this event. I really appreciate it as our sponsor, and the work that you're doing as well. And, you and Michelle are fantastic individuals. And I look forward to hearing more about what you're doing and to see how we can support you all. So thank you. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Saturday. I know it's early over there, but hopefully you can go to sleep or get and for a few hours and then start your day. Thank you very much, Sarah. Really appreciate it, and have a good day.
Yeah, you too. Love waking up in the morning talking about great stuff with you, Yanka. All right, see you
Thank
later.
you. Bye. All right, guys, that's it. That's our super sponsor Saturday. You got to hear from one of our sponsors, which was fantastic. We got some insight into the best marketing and PR approaches. And, it's just another great Saturday for us to enjoy, relax. And I hope you guys take some time to, recenter and refocus yourself and join us on Sunday. Self-Care Sunday is very much important. We have a clip of the replay on our IG, which is BWBC.io. Check it out. Dr. Lamney sheds some great insight. It's 6 minutes of content that's packed. The actual event was more than 2 hours, but I managed to compact it to 6 minutes. But I want you to tap in, tune in, and get ready to join in tomorrow. We're going to learn all about yoga. We're going to participate and learn the best ways to approach yoga and apply it in our life, as well as, help us to de-stress And also there is a yoga DAO. So we're going to learn about DAOs tomorrow. So I want you guys to tap in. But first, I want you to enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Take care of yourself, and we will see you Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So bye, everyone. Thank you for joining.